And good evening. Tonight in Tennessee, a small community outside of Nashville in shock after a massive blast at an explosives factory. The sound of the explosion picked up by a doorbell cam 12 miles away. Officials confirming multiple people have been killed in this incident. 19 are still missing. The blast happened at Accurate Energetic Systems in McEwen, Tennessee. It's roughly 50 miles west of Nashville. It comes more than a decade after tragedy struck this very site in 2014. One person was killed and 4 others injured in another blast at the same site, but involving another company there. Our Kathy Park is on the ground tonight in Tennessee for us. She's going to lead us off.
You could hear the explosion from this house 12 miles away. These aerials show the devastating impact at the scene. Tonight, multiple people still unaccounted for after the blast at an explosives plant in Tennessee.
There are fatalities.
The sheriff emotional, calling it the worst disaster he's ever seen.
So at this time, we have been able to confirm that we do have 19 souls. That we're looking for.
It happened just before 8 this morning at Accurate Energetic Systems. Debris scattered everywhere, with flames on the ground and smoke in the air over burned out vehicles.
Can I describe the building? There's nothing to describe. It's gone.
It's not the first emergency on this site. Back in 2014, according to our affiliate WSMV, 1 person died and 4 others were injured after an explosion occurred where shotgun ammunition was stored by a different company. Authorities still investigating the cause of this explosion.
Do I see a short-term explanation? No. Do I see us being here for many days? Yes.
Their priority for now, assisting the families of those missing.
That's where our thoughts and prayers need to go right now. And we've just got to take one day at a time or 1 hour at a time.
We're going to have much more coverage live from the scene there in Tennessee later in the broadcast. All right, we're also tracking the major nor'easter taking aim at the East Coast. A state of emergency already declared. And in South Carolina, tides rising and streets are flooding. But forecasts say the worst is yet to come. I want to get right to meteorologist Bill Cairns, who has been tracking this storm for us all week. Bill, just how bad do you think it's going to get?
I think Maryland, Delaware, coastal areas, Virginia, especially the Jersey Shore, those areas are going to remember this storm for a long time. So today we started off the day with very heavy rain, torrential rain. Volusia County, the Edgewater area had about 10 inches of rain in one isolated area. That was the beginning, the origins of our storm. By the time we get to Saturday, from Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, all the way through the Outer Banks, it's going to be pouring, it's going to be windy, a very ugly second half to your Saturday. On Sunday, this mess all moves up through the mid-Atlantic areas. As we pause this at 4 p.m., all the yellow shows you where it's going to be pouring. So that's what I mean. You're talking Boston, New York, southwards, all the way down to D.C., and it's going to be windy, especially on the coast, and those high tide cycles are going to be very problematic. More on that in a second. But then the problem is this thing gets off the coast and it stalls. It just lingers here, and that means these winds are going to be piling the water up on the shores of especially New Jersey, Maryland, and Delaware, and also down in the Hampton Roads area, Virginia, for a couple days. So the winds in the Outer Banks, we can deal with this. It's not going to be pretty, but it's not going to be damaging. But by the time we get up to the Jersey Shore down to Ocean City, these wind gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour, leaves on the trees. We are going to see trees coming down. It's not going to be widespread, but there'll be at least isolated power outages. Same will go for Long Island. That'll be Sunday night into Monday. And then for areas in Cape Cod all the way up to Boston, your highest winds look to come Monday afternoon to Monday evening. This is the tide predictions. So we get these as little dots. If you see, the red dots, that's moderate flooding. When we get to the purple, that's major flooding. That's usually when we're getting water in homes, businesses, and structures. And that's the forecast for southern New Jersey all the way down to the areas there around Virginia Beach. For Atlantic City, just to give you an indication of the problems here, we are going to see Sunday high tide, top 10 all time, and Monday. So 2 in a row. That's how long this is going to linger. And the first one's going to knock the dunes down, and the second one's not going to have any dunes to deal with. So the flooding will be even worse. And then finally, Tom, we will get a lot of rain on this too, but the rain shouldn't cause the flooding problems. It's the coast I'm worried about.
Okay, we'll stay watching this. We know all week. And Bill, we thank you for that. We're also following several developing headlines from the White House tonight. We're going to start with President Trump saying the U.S. will impose new 100% tariffs on Chinese goods starting on November 1st. It's all in response to the Chinese government saying it will impose new export controls. The escalating trade wars driving a terrible day on Wall Street, with all three major indices closing in the red, as you see right here. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell joins us tonight. And Kelly, this sort of escalated pretty quickly tonight. Talk to our viewers about how this all happened.
Well, China sort of levied a new intense pressure on having goods like critical minerals and other important things, saying they're going to limit how many of those can go out of the country. That clearly caught President Trump off guard, and he called it hostile and very strange. And he punched back, and he is now threatening to put 100% tariffs on what is already very high tariffs on products, and limiting things like the access to American-made airline parts and software. So this back and forth really highlights the very tense relationship between Washington and Beijing. And what does it mean for everyone else? This could affect supply lines. We remember what that was like during COVID. That can be very disruptive to a whole host of products, from washing machines to clothing to electronics, depending on how this goes forward. Now, the president said he's looking at November 1st, maybe sooner, to impose those new tariffs. And we've also how President Trump often talks about tariffs and talks about his relationship with China in ways that is really about trying to negotiate in real time. That may be a factor here.
Yeah, it's always a good reminder. Kelly, talk to our viewers about what happened earlier today, right? Because the market sort of got a sense of this when he put out on Truth Social, I believe, that he was going to maybe postpone a meeting with President Xi of China, because they're supposed to meet very soon, as you mentioned. Do we know the latest? I mean, it wasn't going to happen. Then he later said, I think today, that it might happen. So where are we?
He said it was off, and then he was asked by reporters late in the day where that stands. And he said, well, maybe we'll meet. He said he will still go to the important summit, which is in Asia, in a couple of weeks. And the prime event at that summit would be a meeting between the United States president and the president of China. That would be a major event. I think it'll be hard for the president to not be drawn to try to have it, to use that personal relationship moment to perhaps improve this economic situation. But this does have a huge effect on prices everywhere, and certainly the president has also been looking to get some relief from China for American farmers. So this is complex. It can affect all sorts of parts of the American economy. We're not that far from the holiday season. Toys are made in China. A lot of potential impacts for American families and American businesses.
Yeah,
Tom?
It's a good reminder. Okay, Kelly, we thank you for that. On day 10 of the government shutdown, the White House says it is following through on threats to lay off federal workers across multiple agencies. President Trump's budget director announcing the cuts on social media today, with one official calling them, quote, substantial. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is live at the White House tonight for us on this Friday. Gabe, do we know which agencies are impacted? That's my first question. And we want to be really clear with our viewers. Have we heard from any of these laid off workers? Because we're getting all this information from the administration.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. Well, look, a White House official tells us that thousands of federal workers will be impacted across a slew of agencies. Now, that includes Interior, Homeland Security, Treasury, the EPA, Commerce, Education, Energy, Health and Human Services, and Housing and Urban Development. Now, during previous partial federal government shutdowns, Tom, workers were furloughed temporarily and later received back pay, though this time the president says some of the cuts will be permanent and will target programs favored by Democrats. Now, we're still just starting to hear from workers. Some of them were waiting for those notices late today. We understand that those notices are going out late in the day, but it'll be a couple days before we understand the full impact of this. Now, talks on Capitol Hill right now are at a standstill because Democrats keep blocking a GOP funding bill that would reopen the government. The White House says that they're making this move because of that. Democrats, though, are arguing that they want to extend hundreds of billions of dollars in healthcare spending first. But tonight, Tom, unions for federal workers are really questioning whether the layoffs are legal here. And meanwhile, there's no sign of progress on Capitol Hill. Both sides aren't even really talking at this point, Tom.
All right, not a good sign at all. All right, Gabe Gutierrez first. Gabe, we thank you. We want to head to the Middle East now, and the tense hours as the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas are now in effect. Israeli troops withdrawing from parts of Gaza, Hamas on the clock to release all Israeli hostages in the coming days as part of the first phase of President Trump's peace plan. Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel reports from Jerusalem tonight for us.
As Israeli troops pulled back from towns and cities in Gaza, Palestinians began walking to see what, if anything, is left of their homes. Darwish walked with his 2 grandchildren for 4 hours, taking them to see if their home survived the war and to see the grave of their father, killed in an Israeli strike. We're happy to go back to our area, and we hope the ceasefire will last. We are tired of being homeless, he said. Further south, Mohammed Sharab discovered his hardware stores and home are now rubble. We have nothing left to live for, he said. The director of Gaza's largest hospital told NBC News more than 100 bodies were found under rubble just today. In Israel, Trump advisors Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, meeting Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, said Israeli military pressure on Hamas was key to the peace deal.
You've got the bigger army, you were making inroads, and that's what led to this deal.
With the ceasefire, Hamas now has until Monday to hand over its hostages, 20 believed to be alive and 28 bodies. At a hospital outside Tel Aviv, they're running drills with actors, so they're ready when their hostages arrive.
The main issues that we're preparing to is, of course, malnutrition.
Do you think that these hostages will recover, that they'll return to good health?
I'm sure that they will do step by step and recover and come back to life.
All right, Richard Engel joins us tonight live from Jerusalem. Richard, we're getting our first sense of the timeline here, right? And we should be very upfront with our viewers. This could all change at any moment, but we think the first Israeli hostages could be freed by Monday. Explain that, how this is going to play out.
So anything could happen. There could be delays. There could be attacks as the convoys are moving. There could be attacks on Israeli soldiers. But so far today, the ceasefire is holding. There were strikes in Gaza. There was no attacks from Palestinian militant groups, Hamas or anybody else. So on the first day, so far, so good. Yes, if you look at the timeline, we're starting to get a clearer picture if things proceed without any major complications. The ceasefire went into effect at noon local time today. That means that Hamas must release the hostages by noon local time on Monday, which could be the same time or very close to the same time when President Trump addresses the Israeli parliament here in Jerusalem. Tom?
All right. Richard Engel for us, covering every part of this for us. Richard, we thank you. Now to an update on our NBC News investigation back here at home into Tesla's full self-driving technology. Federal regulators say they're looking into reports that the company's vehicles don't always stop at red lights or railroad crossings. Tom Costello has this update for us.
It was a close call caught on NBC cameras.
Well, there you go. Sheesh. What the heck?
Italo Frigoli slamming on the brakes after his Tesla in semi-autonomous mode failed to stop when railroad crossing arms were coming down.
Sheesh. What the heck?
An NBC News investigation found other cases of Teslas going through the crossing arms, even driving onto the train. Now, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says it's investigating the scope, frequency, and potential safety consequences of full self-driving software executing driving maneuvers that constitute traffic safety violations, citing dozens of complaints of Teslas in FSD, failing to remain stopped at traffic lights, driving on the wrong side of the road, and failing to stop for crossing arms, in some cases with little notice to a driver or intervene.
This was a close call. Yeah, it was. It was.
Nearly 3 million self-driving software are under review. Researchers caution.
These are systems that are designed as driver assistance features, supervised, managed, and driven by a human.
Tesla has not responded to our request for comment, but it has warned drivers that despite the name, the cars are not fully autonomous and drivers must oversee the vehicle's operation at all times. Tom?
All right, Tom Costello for us. Tom, we thank you. We're back in a moment with the Halloween decorations sparking an uproar. Have you seen these? Some homeowners going all out with spooky displays, but do they cross the line? And no, that house is not on fire. I want to bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Maris, who I hear is also an expert on all things Bravo, both your legal expertise and your reality TV history.
My worlds come together.
We heard Dana's great report there. Is there a case? Do they have a case, prosecutors?
Based on what we saw, there was a press conference today and we have legal documents which are really laying out a lot of information that's quite frankly, on the internet, in the public sphere. So we're looking at an investigation into a burglary that police said there were red flags when they began to investigate. It didn't seem to be consistent with what they saw. All of these receipts of items that were returned. And remember, Tom, when you put in an insurance claim, you're itemizing every single thing in an affidavit, recorded calls. So there's going to be a real paper trail here. Also, communication between the couple, and a warrant was executed on their home. Some of the items that found its way into the insurance claim were found at the home after they were arrested. So sounds like a lot of evidence.
I haven't watched this season. I know it's very popular. Is she popular, and what type of what is her persona on the show, if you will?
She's very popular. She's a professor. She's always involved in the drama with everyone. She's got deep friendships. So she has a very high
flashy
profile
lifestyle. Does she talk about money?
She has beautiful clothes, beautiful home. And yes, there is an element of opulence with all of the Housewives franchise. And, when you're living your life online and also on tape, remember, we're talking about items and a timeline here. What's before the burglary, what's after the burglary. All of that footage from the Real Housewives could be at issue with this case.
How damning is that email, if it is indeed true, where the husband is asking the wife, hey, can we basically amp up what was stolen?
Well, everything about a case like this, when you're talking about fraud, leads back to intent. You have to be making these misrepresentations on purpose with the intent to defraud. So that's going to be a critical piece. And by the way, more communications could come.
And Misty, I know you know this. She's not the first Real Housewife, right, to have trouble with the law or to go to prison, right? Jen Shaw, Teresa Giudice. I know they said it both ways.
It's Giudice or Giudice. It's been pronounced
right? It's been both ways. And is it Karen Hugger or Huger?
Huger.
Oh, okay, Huger. Okay, I wouldn't have gotten that one right either. So what happens when these people, when they go to jail, or look, she could be completely innocent, but when they have legal troubles, do they end up back on the show?
Well, some do. Some are. It's still in limbo. Teresa came back to the show. All others have come back to the show. Others with legal issues. But when you have these types of cases and you're talking about so much that's on tape and a high-profile individual, you have a treasure trove of evidence that's out there in the public sphere.
Maybe Andy Cohen's watching. Maybe he's going to invite you onto the show.
Well, I mean,
all right, Misty, we'll see you. Thank you. Now to one couple's Halloween decor that's causing a fright in their community. Their home appearing to be completely on fire, leading many neighbors to call 911. Our George Solis has more on their commitment to scare and a look at the other larger-than-life decorations causing problems this Halloween season.
Despite flames appearing to tear through both stories and smoke billowing from the windows, tonight the owners of this South Carolina home are begging their neighbors to stop calling 911.
About 30 calls the first year, and I think they may have had 3 or 4 this year.
That's because this fiery scene is all just a Halloween display created by Sam Lee and his fiancée Amanda Pedden.
So probably 99% has been positive. We do have a 1% that, don't like it, and that's understandable. They're entitled to their opinion, but we do it for the community.
The couple from just outside Greenville go big every Halloween. Locals know their home as that must-see house. But this year, the couple outdoing themselves with a mixture of special and practical effects. So convincing, they knew to alert the local fire department.
They know what we're doing. It's never really a surprise to them.
I would not do this without letting your local officials know. That would be asking for trouble for sure.
First responders glad to be in on it, but the calls are coming in.
Does this in any way take away from resources in a smaller fire department?
No. Granted, we're lucky we're a block and a half from where the house is. So regardless, if somebody calls, we're going to go.
What some call festive, others are calling excessive. One Halloween lover in Michigan doubling down when it comes to critics.
When I started getting letters from the city, from my neighbor complaining about some other things, I just decided I would keep them up all year.
Some homeowners, like Alan Perkins, are not up against any other restrictions but the clock.
I do live in a historic home in a historic neighborhood, so it has to come down after October. I can't put a Santa hat on it and say, hey, Merry Christmas.
Perkins, another well-known decorator, has outdone himself with a life Lego skeleton replica in his front yard. The towering 13.5-foot figurine made from scratch, also a labor of love, estimate to what Perkins in scary large decorations.
And in the last few years, the stores have come out with sort of bigger and better creations, and I think a lot of people have taken a little bit of creative liberty.
This Halloween, homeowners digging deep into their bag of tricks for truly visual treats, with no plans to stop.
For the people that don't like it, absolutely, you're entitled to your opinion. Be mocking anything, but maybe just find an alternate route around 512 North Main.
George Solis, NBC News.
All right, we thank George for that one. Still ahead on Top Story. Discovery in Texas, the massive object that turned up on a farm and what NASA has to do with it. Top Story's top moment. How can I forget the incredible surprise pop star Renee Rapp gave one of her super fans at Ohio State University. This is the moment she walked right into the dorm room of fan Sadie as she was getting ready to go to Renee Rapp's concert. Take a look.
Hey, so this is actually my room. I go to Ohio State University. I don't really know who she is. Did you break in to my spot? This is my bed. I usually sleep on the bottom. These are all my posters. This is where I just do my makeup. Actually, this is where I get glam for the show. Sorry, don't mean to get in your way. She did break in though.
They later filmed some TikToks together, and Sadie even got to sing with her at the show. Best surprise ever, I would say so. All right, stay with us. More news on the way. We're back now with Top Stories newsfeed. We start with a rare announcement from Melania Trump, the first. She's been working with Vladimir Putin to reunite Ukrainian children believed to have been kidnapped into Russia during the war. She also says Putin signaled he's open to engaging directly after she sent a letter to him a few months ago. The First Lady adding that 8 children have been reunited with their families. A woman in Texas getting the surprise of a lifetime when an object the size of a car landed in her neighbor's field. It's apparently research equipment from NASA attached to a massive parachute. You can see it drifting across the sky just moments before it crashed. The woman says she spoke with NASA officials who told her the gear is used to gather information about stars and galaxies, even black holes. The researchers later showed up with a truck to pick it up. All right, glad they found it. And tonight we're remembering the college basketball superfan who helped keep the faith. Loyola University in Chicago announcing their beloved chaplain, Sister Jean, died this week at age 106. Isn't that incredible? Longtime nun became a national sensation during the Ramblers' run to the March Madness final, you may remember, in 2018. All right, now to our series. Denial. Millions of Americans, particularly in rural areas, are at risk of losing critical access to health care. One community in California about to lose its only hospital because of a dispute over a couple of miles. Our Liz Kreutz explains.
Inside this hospital in Glenn County, California, fear from patients about what comes next.
It is going to be tough on the community because, what are you going to do without a hospital?
Bobby Goodwin was born in the very hospital where he's now recovering from a broken hip. But later this month, Glenn Medical Center, the only hospital in this rural county, will close. Staff, like Director of Nurses Brittany Mundy, will lose their jobs, but warn the consequences will be far more dire.
It might sound dramatic to say, like, oh, people are going to die, but it's true. People literally are going to die because if you have a heart attack or a stroke and you're 40 minutes away from a hospital, it might be too late.
For more than 20 years, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS, had classified this hospital as critical access, meaning it received millions of dollars in federal funding to help ensure access to health care in underserved areas. But earlier this year, the hospital learned that status was being revoked. Without the funds, it can't afford to stay open.
Was everyone's mouths on the floor when they?
Yes. They're like, why is it changing 24 years later?
The reason for the change? 2 miles. Critical access hospitals must be the only hospital within 35 miles. During a review of Glenn Medical Center's eligibility, CMS noted there's another hospital 33 miles away in a neighboring county. That calculation based on this 2-lane back road to get there.
Locals tell us they never go this way. They say they always get stuck behind trucks and tractor trailers, and they say that this route consistently floods in the winter when it rains.
Some people can't afford to drive, like they don't have the gas money.
But CMS tells NBC News that because of the law, it's not able to factor in things like weather or road conditions. Patients like Arturo Perez are already feeling the pain. He dislocated his knee over the summer. MRI.
Yes, and it's just every day thinking if I need surgery or not.
With Glenn Medical no longer available, the next nearest hospital is now 40 minutes away. And when Arturo's mother, Jamie, tried to make an appointment there, she says the wait time was 5 weeks.
It feels like people don't care. It feels like the people in power are
not caring about the little guys. You know, they're in places where they have access to care that now all the people in this community don't.
And Tom, this community is not alone. Advocacy groups say that nationwide, more than 700 rural hospitals are currently at risk of closing due to financial strain and potential cuts to Medicaid. That accounts for about a third of all across the country. Tom.
700 hospitals. All right, Liz Kreutz for us tonight. Liz, we thank you. Coming up on Top Story, the disaster in the Philippines. Earthquakes hitting the country as communities are still recovering from last week's deadly quake. Plus, the new warning for people on dating apps. A woman in LA accused of meeting up with elderly men and then robbing them. The photos of the woman police want you to see. We're back now with Top Stories Global Watch, starting in the Philippines, which just got rocked by two more powerful earthquakes. Here you can see a hospital. Officials say at least 7 people are dead and several others are hurt. The quakes prompting evacuations and a brief tsunami scare. The Philippines still recovering from last week's earthquake that killed more than 70. And Peru president today after the country's Congress impeached the former leader. Dina Boluarte ousted as she faces backlash over rising crime and allegations of corruption. Now, 38-year-old Jose Yeri has officially taken over as leader, becoming Peru's 7th president, get this, in a decade. Okay, and the opposition leader in Venezuela winning the Nobel Peace Prize. The committee recognizing Maria Corina Machado as a woman who, quote, keeps the flame of democracy burning amid a growing darkness. She's living in hiding right now after attempting to run against President Nicolás Maduro last year. The White House communications director criticized the Nobel Committee for not recognizing President Trump. Authorities in Los Angeles are searching for more victims who may have been scammed by the same woman. She allegedly uses dating apps to meet elderly men and then robs their homes. Alex Rozier from NBC Los Angeles reports.
We want any victims to notify us.
This is Adva Levi. Investigators say she also goes by Mia Ventura, seen here in a Facebook video posted by Penthouse magazine in July 2023. But now the sheriff's department put out this special bulletin seeking victims because they say she's been using dating apps to commit crimes.
Somebody meets on a dating website, they build some kind of trust relationship with somebody. Eventually, you know, they're invited into the home, and then this person ends up burglarizing.
Levi is not in custody right now, but the sheriff's department says she's been previously arrested for similar crimes. They say she targets elderly men and may have been driving this white Mercedes or black Porsche. Investigators said there are numerous victims.
Are we talking 1 to 2 or are we talking dozens?
We're talking many. We're looking probably likely over 10, maybe even more.
Julie Spira is an online dating.
When you see someone that is targeting older men, perhaps they're older, wealthy men, if they've gone through a divorce or they've become widowed, they're very vulnerable.
Spira said when online dating, never send a person money before meeting and meet the first few times in a public place.
Whether you're on a hike and there are other people around, or you're going to coffee or lunch or a dinner date, they should not involve meeting somebody at their home. Private place, and until you really get to know someone, they shouldn't know where you live.
Spira said she hopes this story doesn't discourage people from dating online.
Because most people really are out there looking to find their perfect match.
Still, she knows this cautionary tale may offer some dating lessons for you and help others.
Okay, let's see what's inside.
As they seek potential victims. Levi is not in custody, and the sheriff's department says they are not actively looking for her right now. They say right now their focus is on finding more victims as they continue to build their case. In Los Angeles, I'm Alex Rozier. Tom, back to you.
Thanks so much for watching Top Story. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.